Hey everyone, how are you? I hope everyone's doing well today. Um, so today I'm in an outdoor location, and I'm basically introducing the speaker for today from a garden. Okay, now without any further delays, today's webinar basically is about media marketing, brand building, and strategy planning. And we have Miss Nidhi Thakkar, who does YouTube content partnerships, and she's very experienced in strategy planning, brand building, new media marketing, partnerships, and business development. She's here to answer all your questions about any of these topics. As usual, guys, if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat box, and we'll try our best to answer as many of them as possible towards the end of the section. Now, without any further delays, I'll hand it over to Nidhi, who will take you through her presentation. Nidhi, you're on.
Hello, thanks, Tarini. Guys, I can't see you guys, and I know you can see me. Just shout out to the team if you feel like you can't hear me in the middle, or you want me to go slow or fast. If I'm not comprehensible, just let me know. And I'm hoping you'll be able to see my screen in just about a minute. So guys, I look after the lifestyle vertical at YouTube, and food tube, as we call it, is a large focus area for us. We're excited. I'm excited to talk to so many of you as aspiring food creators, if you're not already a YouTube food creator. And what I'll try and do is really for you to take a step back and really focus on building your own brand, and what that really means. In the digital space, and then how that transcends into thinking about your YouTube channel. Right. So I wanted to start with a welcome. I wish this was an in-person event where we could meet and interact. And I'm hoping that, I do get a chance to meet with one of you and all of you together soon. But welcome to this, and congratulations for making it so far. Now, everything that I'm sharing today is actually proprietary to YouTube. These are some of the workshops that we run for some of our aspiring and creators, and I'm bringing all that material and workshop to you. So please don't share these materials or take photos. Jumping in, what I feel that you will take away today is twofold. One is to understand the full concept of personal branding, and what that means as you sit back and say, okay, what is my brand? And then we'll spend a little time. I have just 45-50 minutes, but I will give you sort of some resources to say what that media kit looks like, right? So if you, if I'm Nidhi and I'm an aspiring digital chef, I do want to then say, what does Nidhi's media kit really look like as it goes to market, and what does brand Nidhi really stand for? And it all starts with, defining your channel brand. I've put a picture of one of my favorite vintage creators, Lily Singh, if Wonder Woman, if you guys know her, and she's all about the personality, right, and what her brand really stands for. She's cool, she's hip. At the same time, it's very evident that she is an Indian Canadian who talks about current issues, but is really funny, and she has this loving, appeasing personality of somebody next door. And so it starts with, when you think about your channel, what will it be? It always helps to sort of have a consistent presence, because and again, I know people have gone through sort of the ABCs of YouTube and how to sort of make a channel, etc. I won't belabor that point, but brands are built over time, and not in a day, as they say. And the longer you're around, it is a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight, but the longer you're around, the more relevant you are. They say out of sight, out of mind. It's extremely true, especially so in the digital space, where everyone's attention is so frayed. Everyone's multi-screening on their phone, and it is really a sea of creators out there. And over time, you sort of bit by bit increase your subscriber base sustainably. So it's not like one video has gone viral and you got sort of lots of followers. subscribers, and then you've basically disappeared, and that doesn't really help. And as you become a household name over time, you become more commercially attractive, which is where we all want to be sooner than later. So before I jump in, I want each of you to maybe take a minute and think about who are your favorite YouTube creators. If you go on YouTube, have you seen Kabita ji? Do you follow Bhuvan Bam? These three are three of my favorite creators, and Casey Neistat, who over the years really defined what vlogging was on YouTube. And so when you think about these creators, also think about why you choose them, right? Think about it and keep that aside, and we'll come back to this, right? There must be a reason why you've grown to follow them, subscribe them, and watch videos each time they share something. Very early on, as people start creating channels, they come to us and saying, when will I get brand deals? I see these big creators actually, working with, and here, of course, you have Nestle is invested in this ecosystem, but we think about your own brand first, right? So let's first focus on what do I stand for, and once it's clear who you stand for and what you stand for, well, people automatically say, hey, I want to work with this creator. And so that's what we're going to solve for. And so if there's one important sort of takeaway from this whole presentation is sort of this one slide, right? And there are 4 building blocks to personal branding, right? So the very base, it starts with who are you, right? And we'll talk about each of these blocks. On top of identity comes meaning, right? So what makes you special, right? What is your value proposition? Whoever you are, what is it about you that I should care? And third is response, right? So there's an identity to you, there's a meaning to that identity, and then there's a response that you elicit from others, right? So because you put your identity out there, there will be a response that people will give, right? And what is that response? Do people feel that you're, very opinionated? Do you feel like, do people feel you're funny, that they can, sort of relate to you, or, you're where they want to be, so you're aspirational. And then fourth comes really the relationship, right? So once people respond to you, how do you sort of build that relationship, which is really at the top of the pyramid, right? So the first block that I spoke about, which is identity, which is who are you, right? So let's take a step back. If you saw somebody's feed, right, whether on social media, and I'm not even talking about YouTube, which is a little more complex because it comes to videos and thumbnails. But if you just saw this, which is how you and I share everyday life, right? And this is supposed to be a question answer session, but what would you say about this person, right? My sense is, and feel free to again leave comments that others and your peers can watch. But I would say this is somebody who likes to travel. They clearly like the beach. So they're nature lovers. Seems like they're into, sort of wellness and eating, clean food. There's some yoga there. So seems like a free-spirited person who essentially likes to be outdoors on the sea, right? And that's what this feed really tells me. So there isn't a disconnect. Without knowing the person's name, their age, etc., you see this and there is a vibe. There is, what you can expect from this person. Now, suddenly, if this person started making, high fashion videos, right? It just won't really match, right? Because it's like, this is not what I expect. It's not on brand. Now let's see this person's sort of feed, right? You can see that they probably work for Google. You can see that there are a lot of work. They like their job. They cycle to work maybe, and so you can tell that they probably live in seems like Europe to me. And it's fairly clear. I don't know, maybe in New York, I can't really tell if that's the Brooklyn Bridge, but it's apparent, the kind of feed that you would see from this person, and tells you a little bit about their life. So the point we're trying to make is your identity can be conveyed through visuals, right? You don't really need to have a resume. And so, if you see Bake with Shivesh, it's very clear, what you can expect from his channel. He's a fun guy who will sort of break down these delicious desserts for you, and they seem pretty professional. The second one I have is a channel that I've come to follow, which is very straightforward, Vegan Richa, right? So there's vegan food. You can see, you know that she's written some books, and it's going to be vegan Indian kitchen, and she's put it out right there. And then interestingly, some other creators actually also convey a lot more information, like when will you be able to see their video, etc. Just something to keep in mind. And so that's identity. Now let's take that a step ahead to say meaning, right? And what makes you different from others? This is where things get interesting. So what is your value proposition, right? Why should somebody subscribe to your channel? Something to think about as you start your journey. This is who I am, and why will somebody subscribe to my channel? And for this, I'd sort of plan an activity. What I will do is I will sort of take a break from my presentation when I give you the 5-minute break to sort of scribble. And the first one will probably take 2 more minutes. So we'll give you time to sort of grab a pen and paper. But here's what we want you guys to think about, right? Think about your own personal values. And hopefully, these are values with which you do business, right? Because you're all in the business of food. And hopefully those values will come onto the channel. And then think about the mission. And I'll give you examples. So the value, could be, straight up honesty, right? Transparency. So I will not make something that is not really true. Stuff like that. Mission is more interesting. It's short, but it's really high level, right? So when you start a business, however small it is, when you start a channel, however small it is, you want to, at a mission level, you want to think big, right? So, it's sort of a larger scope. So let me give you an example. This is a channel called Eater. And their mission is a one-stop shop for food and restaurant obsessors. Right? They're not talking about my channel will make this kind of video. They're saying that we will be the one-stop shop. You won't need anywhere else. For everybody, who are obsessed with, who are foodies and restaurateurs, not cooks, but just people who enjoy food, right? So they will break it down, and this will sort of be the guide of where they can take their channel. So that's a mission. Let's try this once. And if you feel like we find that it's not possible to do this on video, I'm going to leave these activity sheets with the team, and they'll email it to you. But it's nicer when you do things along, right, as you're following. So maybe let's take 5 minutes to do this activity where find your brand mission, whether it's your channel, whatever brand you're building, your own personal brand, what is the mission, right? So a mission essentially will have detailed thoughts about your future, of what your brand will look like, an overview of what you want your future of the brand to look like, right? Any goals that you have, all of those things can all sort of come in nicely. तो हम 5 मिनट का ब्रेक ले रहे हैं, और अगर आपको कोई क्वेश्चंस है कि मैं कैसे लिखूं, मैं कैसे अप्रोच करूं, होपफुली मैंने जो गाइडेंस दिया आपको वो हेल्प हुआ होगा. अगर नहीं कोई क्वेश्चंस है या नहीं समझ आ रहा है तो प्लीज feel free to write it on the comments. Right, so Babita is saying, she wants to focus on health and taste, right? So Babita, a nice way to articulate a mission, the idea is there to say, I want to help enable my audience to have access to not only healthy but also tasty recipes, right? And you will be solving that problem for them. But yeah, you've got it. You know your value proposition. Yeah, okay, really great missions, right? You guys know what you want. Fantastic. I think we're doing well on time, and from the answers, I feel like you guys are absolutely getting where I want to go. So we'll move on because I'm down 20 minutes. And then hopefully we'll have time for Q&A as well. I'm going to keep adding layers of activity, okay? And we go ahead, right? So we what did we cover? We covered identity, then we covered meaning. What does that identity mean to you? What are you doing with that identity? And third is response. So what about your fans as you're putting it out there? So think about how that makes them feel, right? Does does that make them feel positive, accessible emotions? So to take some of the kids friendly example, right? Your fans will likely be mothers who are definitely going to love you, right? So they're going to feel positive, they're going to feel like empowered, accessible, all of those things. And what are your levers with which you can do this? So one is put up relatable content, put up content that they can relate to, and it's actually helpful. Second is familiar introduction and call to action, right? Take any content, right? Take TV serials, for example. The moment there's an introduction music that starts, you get excited because you know it's your favorite show is coming up. So these are little tools that you can use to actually build that connection and response, and be positive. And then, of course, a sense of belonging, right? When you tell somebody, क्या आपके बच्चे भी नहीं खाते हैं जो healthy food है क्योंकि they reject healthy food, don't worry, we've all been there, right? So that sense of belonging and community comes well. And it may be a good idea for you to think back and say, what are the creators that make me feel positive and accessible, right? And sort of build it from there. And so how can you make your fans feel deep, true loyalty, right, to your personal brand? And this is the stuff which is you must appreciate. And of course, some of the sessions that you've done, you have got do's and don'ts. But this is how brands build a community, right? So to take Nike's example, a community of runners, right? Adidas has a running club. These are offline communities, but online communities we all know, right? Facebook fan pages, YouTube pages, etc. Appreciating your fans is also really interesting and important, right? How much do you appreciate your fans? Are you replying to their comments when they reach out to you? And also inviting fans to create with you, right? The more you give back, the stronger the relationship is. It's a two-way street. This is something to think about. So remember, what did we really cover? Who are you? What makes you different? What about your fans? And how do your fans feel? Right? Identity, meaning, response, relationship. So that's really the first part that I wanted to cover. And now let's go into a little more about the channel, right? So we said define your channel brand is where I started in the beginning. And so now if we focus from your personal brand to the channel, what makes your channel different? And this is an interesting food example, right? And it's a channel called Cooking with Dog. Unfortunately, Francis the dog is no more, but the channel is still running, and you'll see this Japanese lady actually wearing her dog's memorabilia, and everybody loves, and it has quite a global following. But think about why is this? How is it different, right? So why does it exist? This channel is relatable because it has cute yet educational content, very much like tasty yet healthy. How is it different? Because videos specifically are about Japanese food only, right? So they'll do like yakitori, or they'll do like a bunch of other Japanese food, that nigiri, like all of those things. Japanese food with a dog, right? And there's always the dog also who's coming. So she's cooking, and suddenly the dog will come, give her a lick or help her, or spoil her stuff. But Francis is a really cute dog, and everyone's watching it as much for the recipes as much for the dog, right? And what does it do differently? It makes Japanese food with a dog, right? So it's not any dog. It's very specifically a cuisine with a dog that you grow to love. So think about the why, how, and what, and how does it all come together? And then the second piece is really the customer segment. I don't know if you guys know Technical Guruji. He's sort of the biggest tech creator in the world today, simply because of the numbers, etc. He's definitely the biggest in India, but also now in the world. And even if you didn't know him, right, and you saw him with this video, right, which is Sunday Tech Masala, right? And you can watch the video on YouTube. Play it. I don't know if it will work.
Subscribe कीजिए Technical Guruji channel को और bell icon को दबाइए.
This is his channel introduction, right? It always starts.
यार हर बार की तरह मेरी तरफ से माफी अगर मैं आपके सवाल का जवाब ना दे पाऊं, बिकॉज़ सवाल मैं कोशिश करता हूं कि इतने ज्यादा ना आए, मतलब ऐसे कोशिश करता हूं, मेरा तो मन करता है कि भैया और आते जाए, लेकिन साथ मजबूरी भी यही है कि यार मैं सभी का जवाब नहीं दे सकता हूं. वैसे अगले हफ्ते से मैं उसके अंदर काफी एकदम बढ़िया वाला फोन होगा, पूरा फुल.
And he goes straight away into phones, right? And so when you see this video and you see his channel, if I was to ask you, right, technical Guruji is not here. I've just given you the information that he has. But let's try and define his customer segment. Where are they located? Possibly India, even though he's the largest in the world. So maybe Southeast Asia as well. And then maybe some from the US that also follow him. What is their gender? Unfortunately, still in our country, tech is still skewed to male. What is their income level? Can't really pinpoint an income level, but anybody who's reviewing like tech gadgets, etc., tends to be, somebody. I won't spend 15-16 minutes on a phone review, on a desktop review, unless I absolutely love tech. And those who like tech tend to be people who spend on tech, or at least wish to spend on tech. So if they don't buy the phone of their dreams, they're probably buying something similar in that range. And what events and moments matter to them. Again, once you know the customer segment, you know very quickly that launches matter to them. If there's an Apple launch, it'll matter to them. New Year's will matter to them. Diwali might matter to them for gifting purposes. And how do they interact with each other, right? So if you see comments, everyone is like, yeah, I tried this phone, I got a better deal, all of those things. If you think of it as food, food is an interesting category where the gender sometimes gets split quite closely, evenly. But moments, are very strong in food. The moment there's Diwali, the moment there's New Year, you know that food is so associated with those moments. So figure out your customer segment, who they are, what they love, etc. And then the third is content distribution. So how will you distribute your content? Now that you know who they are, at YouTube, we'll always tell you, have your YouTube channel, of course, figure out your content plan. But I'm sure you're also on Twitter, you might be on Instagram, you might be on Facebook, because these are all the platforms that, your audience is available at. And so what is your distribution strategy? So you may say, I will post a large YouTube video, like a well-produced, edited, tight 10-minute long form video on YouTube. And I'll probably do that 3 times a week. I will put a little, I'll put a Facebook update every time I post a video. I'll also do an Instagram story. I'll do a YouTube story and a community post, short stories, for behind the scenes or for bloopers, etc. So that's how you'll distribute your content. And so what platforms are you on? So again, I will share this work activity sheet, but it does make a lot of sense as you're starting your journey and defining your brand to, sit down and put these 3 down for yourself as you plan. So for example, to take on that same healthy yet tasty kids recipe example, is that your unique selling point? Are there other channels who do it? Maybe there are, but maybe you'll make it very interesting because you might, also have a child cook with you and actually take their perspective. Or you might, the way you present it, you may focus on more than just Indian food, right? You may actually focus on, other cuisines. Or somebody said gluten-free, right? So you may actually focus on, kids have an obesity problem these days. So you may focus on, high protein, low carbs, and definitely gluten-free kind of content, right? And then customer segment then becomes very keen to say, if this is my unique selling point, who will watch me? If I'm so awesome, who am I going to appeal to? And what do I know about them, right? What is their life like? What are their problems? How can I solve them? So try and know your customer, absolutely. The more you know them, the better you'll be able to serve them. And then where are they located? And how will I distribute the content, right? And so what are your platforms? How will you post, etc. Once you have these 3 together, you will ideally have like a 1 to 2-liner value proposition. This is somebody who's a piano cover artist. But if you see, the customer segment is so well defined, right? She knows that her customer segment is mostly 25. This should be 34, 25 to 34-year-olds, majority male, US based, with heavy metal music fans. Now she may not have known that it'll be US based. So some was gut feel, then maybe she put some videos up. And you've learned already from previous channels, you can have analytics, right? Where you can actually go on gender and you can go on geography. And she found out that while she's not an American musician, the piano covers and original songs that she did, her unique proposition was that she actually covered heavy metal songs, which is a genre. And she found out that actually they were the US, males from US that actually really liked her content. So that was quite surprising, right? So her value proposition then became, hello, I'm Victoria, and I create content which is piano covers and original songs. What makes my channel unique is the fact that it's fill in the blanks, right? I'm specialized in rock and heavy metal songs. People who watch my content are 25 to 34-year-old male US, and they are heavy metal music fans. I often share my videos through social media, radio, and offline gigs, because she also performs offline. A lot of you actually have businesses and restaurants, right? So a lot of that extension of your digital personality will also be offline. So that's a really interesting value proposition to say, well, people can actually know me digitally, but you know what? They can actually experience my food, in my pop-up or in my restaurant as well. So put that whole value proposition together. Yeah, so you've probably now sort of jotted down, you've done a lot of thinking and you've figured out, okay, this is my segment, this is my value proposition, this is how I'm going to launch into the world. And now it's about communicating your channel brand. Of course, when you put out a channel, the algorithm will do the work. You're already distributing it, all of those things, right? You'll share with your friends, tell them I have a channel, to a point, everyone who knows you will like you, then they'll start sharing. Then as you get bigger, your channel will start getting recommended, etc. But today, as you sit on a brand, if I was to ask you, what is your channel all about? And tell me, it's always nice to have a media kit, because your brand is more than just its online presence, right? You've defined it. It's always nice to have a media kit, which is to say, it's like a resume of your channel. Think of it as a resume, right? That's just what I said. So media kit is a resume of your brand or channel. As you go out in the market, and this is more for people, who are interested in sort of collaboration. So tomorrow you may say, listen, I want to work with India Food Network. I want to work with Nestle. I want to work with, this other chef, and I have a great concept and I want to work together. I want to work with brands, all of those things, right? And so you want to do a press release. This is really how you build a resume. And you guys may be experts at this already. These are just some tools that, we feel like you may need. So ABCs of really putting a media kit. So what is the design, right? Captivating visuals. So, have a well-designed media kit. It should have your bio, an image of you, which is obviously signature. You're now going to be an online personality. So nothing goes without your image. A little bit of bio, like, hey, I started my journey here, or what you really are. Your contact details, very important as a leave behind. What is your audience demographics? This is where all your analytics and the things you can brag about come in, right? So this is my audience, mothers of kids who are 4 to 5 years old. This is the kind of watch time that I actually accumulate over a month. This is my engagement on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. And what are your achievements, right? So you may have, I don't know, so this is an achievement that you guys actually made it to the shortlist. And so it's a huge stamp of approval. So you, sifting through thousands, right? So put that out there. If you've, if you've done a collaboration that got covered somewhere, put it out there. If you've, if you've got a restaurant that was, reviewed well, or the fact that you set up a restaurant and you have an offline brand, put it out there, right? So then this becomes your achievements. And this is what it really looks like. I've picked this up from Canva, which is a site which has tons of templates. So don't think that you need to be an awesome designer to come up with stuff like this. Some of the templates are free, but just think about this as you sort of think of your brand, putting out your brand. So what we've done is, you've done some thinking around how you define it, what you're going to put out there. As you sort of become successful, this then becomes your resume. Then you take this and do your elevator pitch and really go out in the world and become a massive brand. But really, that was what we wanted to do. I will send this cheat sheet again, which is essentially how do you make a media kit, which is what I just shared. Your bio, channel overview, maybe put some featured videos that did really well, got like 2 million views, accolades, if there were awards that you got, right? You may have got a silver button on YouTube, stuff like that. Stats and figures, very important. Everyone wants to know how big you are, or how many views do you get. A good idea to put in your value proposition here, and brand affiliates, and then that becomes really your offline media kit. So you build the brand and then put it out in the world. Is really our thought process. Again, I'd save 10 minutes for you guys to make a media kit, but I think it's better done when we're sitting together and hacking it out. But I strongly encourage you guys to sit back and sit with a bunch of post-its and really write it down. And just, if you have it already, your value proposition, just sort of firm it up a little bit. Think about how it's unique that nobody else has. And I think that's the main key, right? The more you know, and there are tons of examples, right? Like regional channels, for example, absolutely know what they're doing. I came across Papa Mummy Rasoi, and there's a Marwari channel, and they have a Hindi channel. The Marwari channel is excellent because they're only doing Marwari cuisine, and there are very few channels that do that, right? So, and it's really an underserved cuisine, right? All of us know dal bati churma, but nobody knows anything more than that. So really think about Vegan Richer, for example. There are very few vegan channels. So the audience may be small, but at least it's a niche. And then you may figure out, whether it's addressable, whether you want to sort of add more, sub-verticals in it, etc. So that's about it. That was really my presentation. I hope that you guys found it helpful.
The first one is from Sagarika Suri. She's asking that I make my videos without coming into frame, so it kind of affects her content. So would you recommend would it be better for her if she came onto the frame?
If you're not comfortable doing it, then who am I to say don't do what if you're not comfortable, you're not comfortable, that's your style. A lot of Telugu channels actually do not, like in the southern languages, a lot of channels actually don't have a creator face. If you prefer to do it that way, I would say, it does take a step away because people can't really it's the easiest way to build association, right? Showing your face because I know who you are. But there are other things you can play with, right? Intros, etc. And it may be a good idea while you're cooking, maybe you don't want to show your face because it might also be a headache to shoot, right? Because you're shooting and then stuff like that. But maybe you also community posts or on your social, it's nice. Maybe they want to see your face as well. So there's a face to the name. So you may, if you want to if your style is to just focus on like Hebar's Kitchen does it, Tasty does it, a lot of them don't show their face, and that's fine. And these channels have done well. But if you feel like you want to build that community a little more, even when you're not cooking, you can put down, you can put out pieces which actually show your face.
Okay, great. So the next one is from Samu. She's asking that on her channel, she covers a lot of things like traditional dishes, home remedies, reviews, baking, and so on. So she's asking, should she focus on particular videos or will this also work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've seen certain genres actually crossing over into diversity really well. For example, beauty, lifestyle, travel, all vlogging goes very well together, right? Food, unfortunately, there's so many focused food channels that it does well when you just focus on food. That said, there are a lot of creators who do like food reviews, so food and travel, and so who am I to say that it won't work? I would say, you've probably heard this answer, so it's not like a one solution, but experiment, right? So use tools. So for example, if you think that, firstly, innately using analytics, whenever you put a food video versus you put up like a home remedies video, which is the one that's working, right? Which one is getting more views, or which one's getting more traction, what are they saying? Suppose you realize that it's actually beyond food. Most of the stuff is around home remedies, and maybe yoga, etc., that people are really watching, and they're not really looking at your, I don't know, your smoothie recipe, right? Maybe smoothie is still good, but like suddenly if you put a pasta recipe, I imagine they don't expect you to make a pasta if you're doing home remedies. But it's a good one to ask your audience, which is why we say engage with the community, right? So you can put a poll, right, on your community post saying, do you want to see more of this versus more of that? You will know, you have to know your audience best, and you'll be the best judge. And the beauty of digital is that, you know, it's not an ad, so you haven't put it out there and it's there forever. You can tweak and decide. So keep experimenting, but also keep seeing analytics and then ask your audience. But I think over time you'll know. So if somebody's doing home remedies, for example, then if they're making, like, I don't know, like a green smoothie, right? It makes sense. It's in that same space. So I will trust somebody who gives me a detox recipe, who's also telling me about my, like, skin detox, right? It makes sense. But I wouldn't go there to learn a pizza recipe, for example.
Okay, understood. So I think the next question is about your first activity sheet. So Ruchika Singh is asking, how do we get to know our audiences and their choices if we don't have too many subscribers? So how does she gauge that?
Okay, that's a good question. How do I? So my activity was more around who your audience is and why they're really coming on, right? So it is difficult for you to say that I appeal to moms and they like old Hindi film music. Yeah, you won't get that as insights. But if you feel like you don't know why your audience is coming behind you and you want to know what they want to know, you need to talk to them. You need to use all your distribution platforms. You know, it's not uncommon for us to see creators saying, guys, आज मैं एक नई रेसिपी बनाने जा रही हूँ, और मुझे बहुत, you know, you've seen the reverse, where you've seen मुझे बहुत सारे रिक्वेस्ट आए कि ये कवर करूँ, तो आज मैं ये रेसिपी कवर कर रही हूँ. Conversely, you can say आज मैं कुछ नया ट्राई करने जा रही हूँ, and tell me whether you like it, right? So or let me know. All creators do that, big and small. Let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover. Use that, right? You need to smartly talk to your audience and say what what they like or what they don't. To a point where if your audience is small and they're not engaging with you, then maybe something is wrong, right? So we always say smaller channels have really strong engagement, because it's as the channel gets bigger, it's harder for you to keep in touch with 10 million subscribers and know each of them. But you have 50,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, you know roughly, that 500 of these are like super active and are constantly telling you what to do. So yeah, that's my long-winded answer.
Okay. So a bunch of questions about how to promote your channel. So Rohini Kulkarni is asking, the monetization criteria is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, right? So how do you reach that as soon as possible or as early as possible?
Yeah, there's no magic formula. We've seen very strong graduation rates in the food vertical. So, we've seen, I mean, so food has strong graduation rates, but it takes longer time for channels to cover. It's not like comedy where, you've put one stand-up video that was so good and so unique that everybody like, oh, this guy's funny, I'm going to follow him, right? It takes time. Consistency, I think, is the answer. Keep putting your videos there. The more you create, how are you going to get 4,000 watch hours, right? If you put one video, it's harder to get that many watch hours. But over 2 weeks, if you put 6 videos, even if it's the same 2,000 people watching it, you've just given more supply. So I think work with supply and learn from supply, and that's how all the creators have grown. And if you feel like you and your audience have a connection, use the workshop that we just told you, what's unique, etc. Find your niche, and then put it out there. The other one that we didn't mention is collaborations, right? So if you feel like some food creators who are actually doing really well and you like and admire them, don't go for the biggest food creators, right? But somebody who you feel is a little further away than you in the journey. Collaborate with them, right? Ask them if they will do a shout out for you, or introduce the channel, come on your channel, stuff like that. That helps because you tag on each other's bases, even if it's two small creators, small channels, right? Who most of our collaborations actually happen in workshops like this. Through the comments, they're like, hey, I do similar stuff, right? You do kids recipes, I also do kids recipes. Do you want to maybe collaborate? And then you'll reach out to each other's audiences. So that's a good hack as well.
And then again, about promotion, Smita Chauhan is asking us how to use Google AdSense to promote her videos.
So you want to spend money to promote the video. Yeah, Google Ads is not the simplest product, but it's not hard either. You'll have to essentially set up a Google AdSense account, which you can do, I think, through a credit card if you don't have an agency on board. If you're mid-size and you feel like you'd want to work with an agency, you can. The good folks at IFN actually may be able to tell you more about setting up an account detail, but it's you have to give some documents, and your credit card details. Once you get an approval, you sort of get an AdSense account, and then you can link your AdSense account to your channel to say, this is what I want to promote. Just like, say, Lakme Unilever will connect its account to, its AdSense account to this channel. Say, I will promote videos of this channel. That's what you'll have to do. It's available online, a lot of the resources as well. It's not that complex.
All right. I'm sure that will help her. So Shweta is asking, do I need a certain number of subscribers to collaborate with other YouTubers? Because how do I reach out to them if my channel is really small?
Reaching out has nothing to do with subscribers, right? You can literally go on any channel and put go in the about section. And then there's an email address and you can actually write an email. Whether you think that a large channel would want to collaborate with you, that really depends on the channel. It depends on a unique idea that you have. For example, I don't know, if you focus on, say, the green smoothie example that I gave you, right? And which is just about, for example, 7 days, you're doing like 7 different health drinks and how they all sort of add up. And maybe you want to call for a few days, you want to call a certain creator because they'd also covered this recipe. Write to them, see if they agree. Or don't go for the largest creators, go for the smaller creators and see if you can do it. Another one that I've seen a lot of creators do in comedy more than food, or in beauty more than food, is that they'll ask to say that, hey, this is my channel, review it, ask for feedback, right, from mid-sized channels. Like, how do you, so you basically are telling them to mentor you, and also then say, like, it'd be nice if you could share my channel with your audiences to see, right? So it's how we all do business, no? It's just that we ask for favors, we give and take, barter, do different things like that. But there's no formula.
So Nidhi is asking, I think this is like, she's asking if hands-only recipes work because she doesn't want to do voiceover or facing camera. Will it read? She thinks, she's asking if this will affect her channel if she doesn't do voiceovers, nor does she face the camera.
Then your editing has to be really fantastic, right? Like, it has to be really tight. Because if I don't get to have a conversation or hear somebody tell me how to do something, imagine without instructions, I don't know. We're so used to having recipes with instructions, which is ab thoda sa pani daliye and stuff like that. So if that's not there, then your editing has to be so good that your text overlays are excellent. You have pause and stuff like that. It has to be really catchy. Otherwise, it's quite haunting, the silence, right? Which, if it's a long video, so it has to be a snappy, quick video with lots of graphics and tight music.
So Rohini Kulkarni is asking that during festive season, so during Navratri, her views increased drastically. But then that period got over and her views went down immediately. How can she maintain that same traction that she got during the festive season?
Well, she was likely covering Navratri, or very like fasting type recipe, Navratri special recipes. And if that's what she was covering, people liked it. But then after the 9th day, nobody wants the Navratri recipes. And I think this goes back to like content planning, which means you need to know, that people like your Navratri special food, and that's great. But you can't just depend on that one thing that is a hit with your channel, right? You have to find multiple hits and multiple spikes. So while Navratri is a good thing, You have to sort of think of other things that will, work. So to maintain that, you just need to have as good recipes throughout and have a strong content plan even before. And it's important because if you do have the right and interesting and not interesting, but like more compelling and as strong content after the Navratri, then you actually have the runway of all these viewers who actually really know you already. If you have a strong content plan, you can start plugging it even on the 7th day of Navratri, saying, "Jaise hi Navratri khatam ho gayi, I can't wait to chole," and wait for my chole recipe on the 10th. And breaking fast is an important one. You can start seeding it in there, so you don't completely lose your audience. But if you had nothing planned on the 10th day, then they're not gonna love it.
Okay. So Anjali Singh is asking, is barter collaboration a good place to start?
Collaborations usually are barter, and that's how they should be. It's not a true collaboration if you're paying somebody. I mean, the YouTube creator community, the way when we look at collaborations, it's really, you do something for me, I do something for you. You do a shout out, I do a shout out. You come on my set, I'll come on your set. It is a community which supports each other, and they don't necessarily actually, from another creator, I've never seen them ask money. At most, they'll say like, not at the moment. I usually collaborate only with channels of a certain size, which is fair, right? Because otherwise, then they'll be collaborating with everybody. But yeah, when I meant collaborations, I meant finding interesting collaborations. And think of beyond food also. Think of the fitness vertical, right?
Any more ways to monetize your channel if I've not got 1,000 subs in the first year?
So, there are no other ways of monetizing because I think all the alternate monetization also opens up for that category. But a good hack or a good interesting one that we are seeing now, since we've launched YouTube Shorts, and I don't know if you guys have seen Shorts, and a lot of you might have access to alpha, beta, whatever stage it is in. A lot of creators, and of course, it's more appealing to lifestyle creators outside of food. A lot of creators are gaining subscribers fast because of the shorts they do. And shorts is like reels, right? And basically because of TikTok shutting down and reels and all of the whole format is just so new, and it's seeing such large traction that's a good way to actually, with not lesser effort, but instead of doing long form videos, which you do with little, so for example, they have a shoot, the camera for Shorts has a tool which is, slow-mo, fast-mo, right? Which means you can actually shoot food in slow motion and fast motions. Imagine a runny egg and stuff like that. Now, for a lot of people who are not actually using voice and hand, if they can be creative with their content and put out shorts, it's a good way. It's an easy way to rake up views and subscribers as well. And so that could be an interesting one to, you still need watch hours, but it's a good one to get more subscribers. So think of like, your distribution strategy, right? If you're putting an Instagram post, make sure that you tell people head over to that channel, do a swipe up. All of those things help, right? Like cross promote. It's criminal to do things on different platforms and not link them to each other, and have a plan for each of the distribution platforms.
Okay, got it. So I think that was our last question for today, and we finished just in time. So yes, it was great to have you on board, Nidhi, and I'm sure like people have learned a lot. We've got so many great questions, and so yeah, everyone, will send the activity sheets to you on email and on WhatsApp. So now that's homework, and please fill them. It'll be great. It'll be help for you when you start your own channel, or when you want to grow your own channel. So please fill them up, and you'll get the information for the next session on email and WhatsApp. And hopefully you all have read about the exam also that is going to happen. But again, we'll communicate all the updates with you. So yeah, we can, I think, log off now.
Thank you. Best of luck, everyone.
Thank you, Nidhi, so much.
Thank you.